Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunushumme, washmale, ohaya gozaimasu, guten Morgen, ola, boyor, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shumachatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli kireaya. Hosh Galden, and thank you very much everybody for tuning into PTV World. You're certainly watching what this morning. Now, I'm a very amazing, well-learned, a good reader, a keen reader, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Miss Hajar Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan. And it's a fine, sunny morning on a Wednesday over here in Islamabad. We hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Hello, Hajra. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for asking me. And I'm really humbled by your introduction. I'm always very humble. You know, always say that. I think.
And you truly deserve it.
Jazakallah khair for saying that. So Shahzad, it has finally stopped raining, you know, and I'm a bit sad about it because, you know, after experiencing 46 degrees centigrade, you know, 19 degrees centigrade was a blessing. And, you know, I felt that some of the people were sick. You know, my sister got sick. She got the fever.
Sick, yes.
Yes, you were sick.
Still
because,
recovering.
Yes. Yes, and you know, actually, I took my mother to grocery yesterday, and I saw 2-3 people. They were actually wearing sweaters and shawls over there because you know there was such a dip in the temperature. But I guess this is the man-made manufacturing of the humans, the climate change, and this is all that has been going on. I don't know what to say else on to say. So,
but you know, in addition to that, you know, since you mentioned about the sweaters and the jackets, you know, so the ex-prime minister, I've seen him wearing a jacket just yesterday as well.
Right.
So obviously, so I was like, hey, you know what? For the elderly people, it might be getting cold as well. But on the contrary, what I was saying,
I think for the younger one, it's also cold, right? My sister was wearing
it
overcoat
was cold, but we certainly did enjoy our t-shirts, you know, going to the gym and making sure that, you know, that the weather is pleasant too as well. But not just that. You know, what I was thinking about was that, okay, now since it has stopped raining, are we going to go back to 46 degrees? Number one.
So.
Number two, I thought, hey, you know what, my father would be so happy because none of the air conditioners were working for the last 2 days as well. So he might be thinking, okay, yaar, bill thoda kam aayega. But yes, at the same time, I think, you know, this is the beauty of Islamabad. We've experienced it before as well. And nature has its own way of recovery as well.
Right.
Yeah, you know, imagine, so we went out to 46 degrees centigrade, where it was so hot that it was really tragic for us to be outside and working. And I was like, yeah, why don't we get summer vacations anymore?
Okay, I would not like to implicate nature in it because I do feel that it is completely man-made, human-made conditions.
But you were the one who said that, you know, that nature has its own recovery as well. Do you remember that? You came up with this theory. What was that theory? Please go on, share it with our audiences.
Okay, so you know, I witnessed this thing in the COVID. So I had the morning shifts, and I used to come early at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I used to see because there was no car on the road because there was a lockdown there. So I saw that all the roads were, you know, but they were massively, I don't know, should I call it an encroachment or what, you know, with the beautiful birds, sparrows and crows, and it was such a beautiful sight to look at it. And you know that I could see the sun was rising and all the horizon. So I did feel that, you know, whenever we humans recede a bit, I feel that nature has its way of recovering back.
Wow.
You know?
So what you're trying to say is that nature proceeds when people recede.
Yes.
Right?
So,
that's
you
what
know,
you're saying.
I have this, you know, very dystopian view of the future, you know, that we will be conquered by machines and stuff like that. So one of my professors said, what if, you know, humans are able to, you know, diffuse that you know, notion of machines conquering us and nature comes back. So I said, okay, you know, maybe I should not be very, you know, pessimistic about the future. Maybe, you know, there are things that nature provides us.
And that's what you certainly need to do. You know, why are you so pessimistic about your future? Because I think that we kind of rely on technology rather than, you know, technology taking over us.
But I do feel that technology is enslaving us a lot. For example, I am all the time on the mobile. You know, I do everything on the mobile.
That's your bad, no?
I do feel that everyone is like that because the content is designed in such a way that, you know, they're constantly giving you messages so that, you know, you go into that app again and, you know, they are generating money.
But you can turn off your notifications, you know, everything can happen. But yes, obviously, we certainly have to agree to what you're saying. And it kind of takes away half of the day from us as well. But we yet,
more than half for me.
At the same time, we do not need anyone else. So, you know, we're not social animals anymore. And not just that, I think we're wasting a lot of time. We do not focus on our goals. And then we procrastinate, and then we're like, okay, you know, this episode looks so amazing, you know, let's just keep on watching this season. So whatever it is, but my trigger point is if I turn on a movie or a season or anything which I'm watching on a cell phone, I will eventually fall asleep. So I think that's best as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look what's happening in the country and outside the world. So the top stories coming up. The first one, would you mind?
Right, right.
Let's do
so
this.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has expressed his government's strong resolve to redouble its efforts to enhance and expand the bilateral cooperation with Canada in the areas of mutual interest, in particular trade, investment, energy, health and education. So, you know what, Shehzad, he also said that while talking to High Commissioner for Canada, Wendy Gilmore, who called on him in Islamabad, Prime Minister discussed Pakistan-Canada long-standing relationship, which is marked by cordiality and friendship.
Wow.
Okay, so also while briefing the High Commissioner on the government's business-friendly policies, Prime Minister invited the Canadian companies to take advantage of these policies to make investment in Pakistan. The High Commissioner stated that the Canadian companies would be encouraged to explore economic and investment opportunities in Pakistan, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to undertake an early official visit to Pakistan, as it would surely contribute to enhancing Pakistan-Canada ties. Wow, that's a development.
And it's beautiful because, you know, this recent government actually truly believes in international relations as well, and they've been working towards that. May it be Turkey, may it be Canada, may it be UK just a few days ago as well. Just yesterday we had the ambassador of Kazakhstan over here on the show as well. But now it's about time that we kind of remember this one legendary, amazing Qawwal, and he happens to be from the family of Qawwals too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, today happens to be the death anniversary of Amjad Sabri Sahab. He's been remembered throughout. Born on December 23rd, 1976, Amjad Sabri used to participate in chorus with his father and uncle's group, Sabri Brothers. He started working as supporting vocalist after death of his father. Later, he started his own group. Amjad Farid Sabri was a proponent of the Sufi Muslim tradition, son of Ghulam Farid Sabri, a nephew of Maqbool Ahmed Sabri of Sabri Brothers. He emerged as one of the South Asia's most prominent Qawwali singers. Like his elders, Sabri dedicated his life to keeping alive the tradition of Sufi Qawwali that date back over 7 centuries. Amjad used to recite poetry sung by his father and uncle. His other works included Main Nazar Karun Jane Jigar, Allah Allah, Dhoom Macha Do, Kaab Ki Raunak, Kaash Ye Dua Meri, Ali Mera Dil, Phir Dikha De Haram, Talue Seher Hai, Shame Kalandar, one of my favorites as well. His Qawwalis, Tajdar Haram and Bhardo Joli, immortalized him in the hearts of his fans. His last music project was with Coke Studio, where he performed the exceptional Aaj Rang Hai with Rahat Fateh Ali Khan. But sadly, the light that was Amjad Sabri was extinguished a few months before the release of the Coke Studio season featuring him. Unfortunate, and to be very honest, I think there's something which I would want to discuss over here, Haja, and that is that I've seen while growing up that, you know, when such legendary artists are around us, we certainly do not give them that much respect, which is actually due for us to give them. And then unfortunately, when all of a sudden we get to know that the gentleman is not around or the woman is not around now, all of a sudden all the news channels, you know, everybody starts to talk about them. Why cannot we give them that respect which they deserve while they are around us?
Right, and I do feel that, you know, artists are not that much respected. I think one of the reason why there's this prevalence of thinking is, I do not support it, but I do feel that a lot of parents says, you know, that this field does not have enough money in it, you know. So we want our children to have the field, you know, which has particular stability in it and particular trajectory in it. You know, that's why they're often, you know, asking their children to go towards, you know, maybe medical or engineering or whatnot. This is my opinion, of course, you know.
Well, I mean, I obviously want to say shukr, alhamdulillah, but you know, if there's any parent who really want to kind of get to know how much money is in it, you can probably come, you know, check Hajra's lifestyle or probably my lifestyle, and you will get to know that yes, there's a fine trajectory, there's a learning curve, and you really need to explore yourself, innovate, and make sure that you have newer talents every single day when you're on stage and you're talking to the audiences out there as well. Because we're not just going to work over here in Pakistan, we go out in 46 different countries, different people, we like different aspects of your personality, character, and the talent you possess.
Right, right. This is such a wonderful, you know, thought to have on it. So now moving on to our segment, right, Shehzad?
Yep.
So we have now very amazing guests with us.
And before we, why don't we actually talk about the weather first then?
Okay.
You know, because it's sunny over here, you know, it has been raining. The advisory has been out there as well. You know, there are a few places in Punjab where there were flash floods too as well. So let's take a look at how the weather is going to be in the coming days. So ladies and gentlemen, Met Office has predicted more rain in the next 24 hours. Haha, good news. According to Met Office, rain and thunder shower is expected in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Punjab, Islamabad, Gilgit-Baltistan, Kashmir, Sindh and northeast Balochistan during next 24 hours. In Islamabad and Rawalpindi, intermittent heavy rain brings temperature down as authorities remain on alert to respond to emergencies. On the other hand, Haja, pre-monsoon rains have wreaked havoc in various parts of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, causing floods and roofs to collapse, damaging crops and properties, and leaving several people dead and injured. Thunderstorms and gusty winds have been reported in Sibbi, Kolu, Ziyarat, Quetta, Harnai, Loralai, Shernai, Mushakhel, Barkhan, Zob, Kalat and Khuzdar. Meanwhile, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Disaster Management Authority issued a report stating that 3 children are among the injured in rain-related incidents. Climate Change Minister Shahri Rahman on Twitter warned that large parts of the country could face floods in the aftermath of torrential rains in the coming days, adding that there is a clear risk of flooding in Karachi, Lahore, Multan, Peshawar, Islamabad and other big cities. So we're talking about urban floodings over here. The National Disaster Management Authority has directed all relevant departments to remain high alert and vigilant. The Climate Change Minister predicted that Pakistan will see monsoon rains till August. Well, and this is something which I was worried about even yesterday. So imagine, how there are rainwater drainage
Right.
at home as well, and most of the time when children are playing on the terrace or at the
Right.
balcony,
Right.
they put some footballs and balls in it as
Right.
well. So everybody please make
Right.
sure that that the rainwater drainage system is just open and clear, so that you certainly do not have to go through any sort of inconvenience or inconvenience. Yes, that's what it is.
Right.
Please. Now, what are we talking about today?
Right. So, we have some very amazing guests in the studio, and we are talking about something, which is very close to our heart and, which is very, I think, a pertinent topic to discuss, especially in 21st century, especially in the age of social media, at the digital age.
And I've been talking about it, love
and we have been.
instead of hate. Why
Right.
not love everybody? Why not have a heart which is full of compassion, which is full of respect, which is full of, when you talk to somebody, you certainly need to have that emotion. Why do you think कि हमारे दिल पत्थर के होते चले जा रहे हैं? That's something which I wanted to ask as well. So the topic today, ladies and gentlemen, is love instead of hate. And then why do we believe in divide and rule? Why not, kind of talk about how collectively the society can progress? So we're very lucky that we've been joined with some amazing guests
Right.
over here. One of them happens to be a top-notch speaker over here in Pakistan and across the globe too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we were lucky that we've been joined by Mr. Umair Jaliawala. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. Very well. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. So I was
I loved the dialogue that you guys had. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that as well. And what I thought, I was like, before I give the mic to you, let me just say what I want to say because then I might not even
good
get
strategy.
the opportunity. But thank you very much, Umair, for being with us. It's lovely to be in conversation with you alongside him. I have been very respectful to this gentleman, and it's because of the fact that he was my professor while I was attending university.
Okay,
He
that's
was
lovely.
very kind to us. He always made sure that even if we didn't do assignments, he would be like, okay, you know what, you can go do some social work, come back, and if you've already done it, you'll get full marks as well. Not just that, he had a very different style of teaching. He always made sure that he's going to come down to the level where we were thinking, we were full of energy, we didn't want to study in the classroom, he would take us out, he'll be like, okay, what do you guys want to do?
Right.
So whatever activity he involved us in, he always made sure that we were going to take away something at least from that particular class as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've been joined by somebody who I refer to as Sir, but his name happens to be Mr. Asif Rasool as well. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Islam, thank you very much.
Sir.
And the energy which we get early in the morning and the compassion, especially in this show, that's wow one.
Sir, thank you very much once again for the lovely words. But very quickly, sir, when you used to teach me in university, I'm talking about Air University as well, did you ever thought that you're going to be on my show one day?
Well, he was a star in those days, a star in that university. And people, youngsters, they used to talk about him a lot because many aspects, the way he was like outspoken, he ushered many of the movements, like especially for the social work. That was amazing. So,
Jazakallah, sir. Thank you very much. So let's get the conversation started. Umair bhai, love instead of hate.
Yes.
And so I want you to give us the prerequisites of it as well, and how the society is behaving these days. What are the reasons behind?
Okay, and I really want to
Sure,
carry forward this conversation. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you. So, Umair, like we have seen that today we are facing a very polarized society, and this trend has been across the world. It's not just in our society, right? And I feel one of the reason is because of the social media, because people have this ability to write anything they want on social media without, taking into fact that it can be very inflammatory, right? They're focusing a lot on rights, freedom of movement, my freedom, freedom this and freedom that, and they're not focusing on their responsibilities, right? And always say on this show that this is the era of de-responsibilitization. How do we amend this melody,
Or do we really need to amend it?
Yeah, I'd really agree that social media has polarized us. Because if you look at how social media is designed, it's designed to engage you, like you said earlier.
Right.
So if you want to keep engaging Shehzad, we have to keep showing Shehzad what Shehzad likes.
Right.
We have to keep showing Shehzad what Shehzad believes in. So Shehzad keeps saying just what he likes, just what he believes in.
That's true.
And that's getting stronger and stronger. And we don't quite like the other. It's a choice.
True.
We have to choose the other. I have to choose you. And I have
Right.
to choose it very consciously because I need you. The government says drink less tea. Who's making tea for us? Somebody in Kenya is, right?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to start there. That the social media has strengthened these opinions, and it's going to only get more and more harder. What do we have to do here? We have to sort of start looking at the other, like I said in the last show, but look at the other in the way that how it helps you grow as well. Many a times our own opinion, like Rumi said, it's like three blind men in a room and they're touching an elephant and they come back and they're asked, what did you touch? Now, because they're blind, they didn't see the elephant, so somebody's touching the feet, somebody's touching the trunk, somebody's touching the tail, and all of them have different stories. Just like all of us have different stories. And it's only when we start listening that we make the world a better
Right,
place.
right.
We start resolving. We have to choose love over hate because hate stems from insecurity. It stems from mistrust. It makes Umair believe that he's a victim, that you're doing something harmful on him.
All right,
Okay.
I'm very sorry, but we're actually having a technical difficulty over here with your microphone, so we really need to head out towards a short break. But when we come back, obviously, this is where we're going to continue from as well. We're heading out towards a short break. Don't worry, that's the beauty of live shows. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, okay? Haha, I'll be glad. Hey, I'm glad that you guys are still here. Thank you very much for staying tuned to PT1. You're watching what this morning over here inside the studios. We're lucky to have been joined by Mr. Matt Jaliawala and Mr. Asif Rasool as well. But before we head out towards a short break due to a technical difficulty, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally back on track and ready to take off. Please.
Yes.
So you were saying love and hate.
Yes, love and hate. So why not love? Love is beautiful. Love is pretty. Like Bible says, love is kind. All the prophets who came in, they looked at everybody with the lens of love.
Right.
True.
When I dislike you, when I hate you, it's not just you. I'm also hating the one who has made you. And I'm saying I don't like this size. I don't like this opinion. I don't like this diversity. That is the scheme of nature, right?
Yeah.
So all the prophets brought the message of love, and hate comes back. Hate is a wound inside, right? It's not just that I'm giving it to you, it's that I'm carrying it in me.
Yeah.
Like Buddha said, it's like holding a burning coal and thinking that I'm going to throw it at Shahzad. But hey, before I do that, it's burning me. And that's what we're doing.
Don't you think we cannot realize the importance of love without hate? I mean, these opposite emotions exist in
Yes.
the binaries in that sense.
True.
So hate is always a very negative emotion, you know. It always, I mean, keeps you astray from the right path. Is it the case? But I do feel that it's also a very unifying emotion, right? It unifies a lot of people. For example, you see the movements, white nationalists, they say we are all one nation, we are all one superior race, and rest we will dominate the others, right? It's a unifying, I mean,
It's an
idea.
insecurity. It's an
Right.
insecurity that the resources are not enough. It's an insecurity that everybody can't be catered to. So hey, we're going to gang up, and we're going to gang up against them.
Yeah.
That's what becomes of this. But yeah,
Right.
divide and rule is the oldest tactic. And tribes we always were. But our supremacy as human beings, our development, our progress, our evolution, folks, is in our ability to collaborate.
True.
And that starts with seeing from a lens of appreciation. Hey, what is it that I'm not seeing?
Right.
Hey, what is it, the good that you're carrying in you that I'm not seeing because of my hateful lens?
True. So which is why, you know, let's move on to Asif Rasool sir over here as well. So sir, love instead of hate.
Well, I just want to share, like, there are two mindsets. And as a trainer, sometime I feel when you are going through certain trials, you feel it yourself and you also see the effects. So like when you're in kind of like forgiving mode, loving, caring, compassionate, like the way you started early in the morning. So I mean, the chemistry inside you is aligning with yourself and you are there to work very nicely. But if you have got this hate, the way it cripples your energy and the way it kills your chemistry, that's very dangerous.
Yes.
And I just want to quote Candace Mama.
Sure, sir.
She's nowadays working with Les Brown, and she shared a story
Yes.
that when I was young, my father was killed by someone, and the guy was in jail, and I was just like, I was always smoldering with anger, and this is how I grew up. So somehow one day I just decided to visit that killer with my mother. I just went there and I said, I forgive you. And she said that I did not forgive him. I also forgave myself. Like, ever since I started smoldering with anger and I got this reality, I caged myself and I was just smoldering. And I was not open to it, I was not progressing, I was not developing myself. But she said the day I went there and I forgave him for none. And after that, no, you can see that I'm just communicating to the world. I'm just telling people, and he had just written this book on it. And now people just see, like, as long as she was smoldering with anger and she was living in that kind of negative mindset, and the way she was suffering, she was not productive. But the day she forgave, no, she has got lot many books and she's just sitting next to the one of the best trainers in the world.
So
Like
this-
that's-
But,
this
but
what-
there is a difference between forgiving and forgetting, don't you think? But when you don't forget that, you know, these emotions will bubble up again, right?
You know what they say? They say that, you know, always make sure that you forgive, but please make sure that you never forget what actually
Yes,
happened.
yes.
But let me come down to the very notion where we have been brought up with this one, and that is they say that everything is fair in love and war. Now imagine where she said that hate is a unifying element. Yes, obviously a bunch of people who really are against an idea or an ideology, that might be unifying for them, but that might be disturbing for themselves, you know, probably later down the years as well. But imagine growing up with this very notion, everything is fair in love and war. Now imagine that we're giving, you know, a hall pass to everybody who wants to do whatever while they're in love or while they're at war as well. How would you kind of comment on that?
Yeah, we've been brought up with such ideas.
Yes.
And
Right.
we are mixing a lot of love here. There is love in general, love for everyone, right? Love
Yes.
for all creation, love for all animals, all beings, not just human beings. And then there is romantic love.
Yes.
There's a lot of theory on that, a lot of research on that. And that romantic love can flip into hate, and in that people go to extremes, and that somehow society would accept. And a lot of pursuits, in fact, marriage stories here would be that, hey, we had to do this, and that did involve that struggle. I would like for us to zoom out here and focus on the society. It's okay for Shehzad to have somebody who has hurt Shehzad bad, somebody who broke Shehzad's heart, and Shehzad, you'll have to process that. Like Sir said, you're carrying that, right? You're going to be reminded of that. You think of, hey, how you were hurt. You feel like a victim, and that's just a powerless situation.
True.
It's driving the productivity out of you. It might lead to revenge. So drop that on a personal note. But how it affects us as a society when we are brought up hating the other, when we are brought up hating another race, when we are brought up hating another religion.
Yeah. Right.
And we don't just take it as some people, we take it as all of them.
Right.
In this country, there are two
Stereotype.
provinces that would not do business together.
Right,
Imagine the cost of that on this country. There are two neighbors, Pakistan, India, fighting all the time. Imagine the cost of that on the region.
True.
Right? There is a war going on in Afghanistan, massive conflicts. There are two groups now who visibly, and not just visibly, but physically hate each other.
True.
What is the cost of that on the land? So we have to consider the cost of this attitude, and somehow or the other it affects me. My economy is not growing, right? My salary is not growing. So it comes back to me, my own attitude around that. That's what I'd like to say here.
And in addition to that, I will continue and I will take it forward as well, obviously, because that's the same element you're talking about where Haja was like that, it might unify a lot of people. So obviously, while we talk about the cost, our country might have to pay just because the fact that we are in argument with somebody, while other people will be benefiting from it as well. So, it's either way. But now let's come down to, since we have zoomed out, I would want to zoom in a little more as well, because I've never seen, so obviously when we talk about political leaders, when we talk about people such as celebrities, when we talk about people who are artists, they are supposed to be the heroes of the nation, because they are the ones who they are the flag bearers, they go everywhere, they make sure that your country is being kind of recalled off, and that too with a very good name. I've never seen any political figure over here in the country who talks sensibly, and they then half of the time have very ill language, that too against their political opponents. Imagine that's the kind of leadership we have in the country, and I'm very sorry to say, I'll have to be honest over here, that's not how I would want my future generations to grow up, listening to some political figure who certainly does not make any sense just because they have so much hate for the other opponent political party leader. So off the table they might be friends, but what you're saying on national television is something which does matter to the future generations. Imagine that when we talk about leaders, we really need to go back in time and then talk about Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Fatima Jinnah Sahiba as well. Not just that, let's talk about Nelson Mandela. Have you ever seen Nelson Mandela's single speech where he might have used a word of hate as well? We have never seen that. But imagine living in a society where from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m., that's what you're going to watch. How do you think that there will be love anyways?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have given voice early in the morning today on this national TV to thousands and thousands sensible Pakistanis who have got the same thing, but unfortunately they do not have enough platforms where they can propagate this idea that we are sick of it, what we are listening in the evening and what we are getting in these political gatherings.
Yes.
And like fiery speeches. Jalal Sahib is also like, I really respect him a lot because he is there to work for youth, and the way he is, mobilizing
Inspiring a
and
lot of
challenging
people, yes.
and inspiring people, I really appreciate. I just read one research, and it says that we have got to even stop these kind of speeches where you have got like in and against, like people who are in for this, because they say that students, when they are coming with this kind of mindset, they won't be able to communicate in a relaxed manner. They're always having the same mindset.
True.
So this is, unfortunately, this is there, and now this 21st century social media problem is all of us, we are properly fit into our own echo chambers. So I love my echo chamber. Whatever they are saying, I'm going to buy it as it is. And there is no filter at all, which is obviously going to damage me. Wherever I'm going to communicate, it's going to damage them. And similarly, this really affects. And thank you very much for raising this voice. And as long as many sensible people are there, at least they should say, no, come on, this is very bad. And now we are not into it.
And in addition to that, I will add on over here. So imagine that people will call you a Yuthia probably, or people will call you a Patwari. And you know, I'm very honest, while I sit over here and very responsible. And that is that imagine that people now when we talk or whenever we have a political disagreement, it all will come down to eventually that one political figure rather than the country itself, rather than the sovereignty of the country, rather than the existence of the nation. How do you think that we kind of move back to those values and we make sure that we actually have a national curricula of such sort where people are being polished and they flourish like good human beings?
Sadly done all the leaders. But how far do they live? How far does it go? Mandela will live. Mandela is dead.
Yeah. Wow.
Edhi is dead. He's living. True. He's living, right? He's living every day. I see his work every day on the streets of this country. How far does the work of a counselor go? How far does a clergyman go who is building it on hate? True. But how far does the message of love resonate? And how many generations does it inspire? We have to see that. So nature has its own justice, and it shows very clear justice. And I think it's just that the speed of technology has been faster, and our own thinking evolution has not been this fast, right? Now we have generation of people who have never been to school, they're on social media, right? They get to comment.
Yeah.
We have never heard them. They were our helpers. They were our cameramen, right? Now they're with us. They're equal.
Yeah.
They're an equal number on the social media. 100 of them, you're gone. This is the first time it's happening, right? So we were not prepared for it, and therefore it's getting harder, not just for Pakistan, but for all the countries. And I think human beings do rise above, and there is a rise above. There is a call for a whole lot of people who are highlighting discriminatory behavior, who are highlighting hate speech, and I do feel that it's going to get more sanity. As it's a phenomena that none of us had seen. Now we are seeing it, and now we're going to choose out of it.
And
we're going to have more channels.
Yes,
Right.
and it disturbs me most of the time, you know, when you kind of get to see such sort of information around you, 100% of the time, you're like, yeah, you know, I really need to go outside of this place.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back anytime
So
soon.
you always have the option of closing down the TV, right?
No, it's
Or
not just the
shutting
TV. Imagine it's the people around you. You know, they would always, you know, this is what I said, that, you know, people would call you with different names, but rather won't call you a Pakistani because you wanted your country to flourish.
Yeah, can I just add a thing here? When you, I just posted it a couple of days ago, when you label me, you limit me.
Yes,
You know, when you
brilliant.
label somebody Yuthia, when you label somebody Patwari,
Or
when you label
liberal.
somebody even Punjabi, even Pathan, that is a limitation. That means now you already have an idea that you're going to try. I have an idea of Shahzad, and I'm going to fit Shahzad in that.
That's a tunnel vision. Yeah.
So, and no matter what you do, I'm going to find what I'm looking for. You'll always see the red you're looking for, right? So that's how we limit the other. We limit the dialogue with them. We don't see any other side of them, what I said earlier. I'd like to say that we also get some kick out of it. You know, it's fun.
Right.
It's fun when one of us is brought
We
down,
need to
so we
admit it.
all need to admit to that and rise
Right.
as a nation. That's when the leaders would rise, right?
Right. So, you know, Asif Rasool Saab, I would like to pose this question to you because we are talking about the students, youth, and the policy making, and also the politics at that time. So I do feel that there are student unions, right, and they were banned after that. And one of the reason, you know, the people pose and cite is that the reason for banning them was that lot of students, they are young, they are very energetic, they're very aggressive, and they can be a tool for the political parties to misuse them, to manipulate them, right? But we also have to give students a safe space where they can channelize their energy, especially when it comes to the policy making process, and where the leadership can arise from that. How do we balance that? You know, how do we give them a safe space while at the same time maintaining, you know, that they don't delve into hatred and they don't delve into a very polarizing road in that sense?
Okay, I can just share flame. Like last day, I was in my university, and early in the morning, like at 10, we saw like some students from mass communication department.
Right.
They were like just wearing Hindus kind of get up. And two of my students, they were just attempting paper. They just saw outside and then said, isn't it haram? What they are doing in this Islamic country? I said, well, I mean, there are different ways. Instead of just fighting with them, you can directly talk to rector. You can directly talk to them. There is a softer way. Then they just went there. They just communicated and they came back. Had there been like people from that sect and from that country, we would never stop them. True. But Pakistani students are going for that. Obviously, this was bad. So this like one thing that this does affect. Like you asked one question. Very quickly I've got to address that. You said that like people who thrive on hate. There were so many movements.
Right.
Yes, in the start.
Yes.
They thrived on that. But a time came when they just achieved their targets.
Right.
Obviously, they went for rule and law. Whether it was Nelson Mandela or someone else's, they just looked for things. Initially, they didn't do, but supporters, they were just killing. For example, after this separation, I mean, before the separation, we saw that bloodshed, killing, and all that. I was just going through this Idrissa book, The Mirror to the Blind. There he just wrote that I was just moving around in a chalk, and suddenly I saw a guy came and he just put a dagger into someone's heart, and the guy was like shouting and he died there and then. I just went there and the guy was saying that I've done a wonderful job. Why? Because he's Hindu and I saw him in India and today I saw him there. This is what happened in India. But now, do you think that should we continue with that mindset? No, there is a time when we have got to properly look for the balance and all that, so that ultimately we are just going to win in that scenario. And we have got to develop that mindset where people are really there to respect others, people are really there to develop those kind of strategy, because then it becomes very progressive mindset.
And sir, obviously, we need to coexist, and people really need to understand, because when you go to your university or when you study with people from different backgrounds, from different religions, that's the time when you realize, hey, you know what, they're not bad people at all, they're just like us. It's just that their faith system or the belief system is different, so let it be. And that's what our religion tells us, to coexist peacefully. But now I want to come down to how, and these can be my experiences as well, but most of the time I've seen people talking about it. So imagine all of a sudden, you're into business, so the business practices over here, not fair at all. You talk about how people are saving their own tax money, not fair at all. So on every level of the society, we unfortunately are not good people. So wherever we can save a bit of money, which was supposed to go for any charity, which was supposed to go for sadaqah, zakat, so whatever, we are saving it all, and we want to kind of sit on top of it and be like, hey, you know what, we're the most pious people in this world. So on every little step of our society and different segments of the society, we are doing wrong, which we think is right for ourselves. How do we get that right?
You said that the
and
business
also
is...
please shed, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, shed the light on how the hate industry is a billion-dollar industry,
Yeah.
There's a connection of money with the hatred into that. How to address that? I mean, so much money into it. How do you disconnect it?
And in relation to that Netflix season, Sacred Games, I think it kind of speaks about it as well, that how a Muslim waiter kind of puts in a chicken piece into a plate of rice onto a Hindu's table, and all of a sudden it was a fight. And that's how people take advantage.
True. There are always people out there to get advantage, and the advantage is taken out of the mass.
True.
Right, always. So the mass needs to become more conscious. You said the business is not fair at all. I've been in business 15 years, Shazad. It's very fair.
All right.
It's extremely fair.
Okay.
So, but yes, there are people who don't pay taxes. I've been a taxpayer since I was 17. Right, I choose to do that.
You didn't even have your ID card. How did you get your NDA number?
Yes, exactly. No, but the tax is deducted, right?
Yeah.
The tax is deducted.
Exactly.
So, and I've run companies, I've run private limiteds, I've run foundations. We were great.
Mashallah.
We had the highest level of audits. We were very, very transparent. Fascinating.
True.
It was our choice.
True.
So I wanted to say that, hey, the preparation is collective, but the exam is individual.
True.
And God is going to ask you what you did.
Yes.
And my belief is there are always ways. There are always ways. Instead of, hating, there's always way, and there's always a sane voice. amongst us, in our families, in our villages,
That's
in
true.
our companies. Those are the people who are more respected, right? Those are the Sufis. If you go and look at their shrines, you would see all faiths go there, because those were the same people who said, hey, let's be cool.
Yeah.
Hate has costed us a lot of lives. Hey, hate is, now you said that it's an industry. So
Right.
hey, why don't I become conscious that am I propagating hate industry?
Right.
Because that's not what I'm here to live for, right?
Exactly.
The choice that I've got to make is to support the truth, is to
Right.
be with the right, and to not be with what is hateful.
Right.
Right? My prophet said that even if I spend thousands of years on the prayer mat, I do all my rosas, but I don't take care of animals around me, I'm in trouble.
Right.
So I'm always thinking of that exam, and that exam is for all of us, right?
And yes, obviously, we have to appear in it individually as well, so everybody needs to focus on that. But very quickly, since we're left with very little time, let's go down to the solutions of it, that how on a bigger level we certainly can propagate or probably propel this very feeling of love rather than hate as well, and that, you know, everybody have that patience. Hey, you know what, everything's going to come down to being normal, you know, let's just sit down, think for a while, sleep over it. I think is a great job to do when, God forbid, if your heart is full of hate, just sleep over it. Don't react instantaneously.
Especially in an era where there's a talk of, you know, post-truth age. He said that I'm with the truth, right? So people are saying that everyone has their own truth,
Yeah.
you know. So with such kind of debate, I mean, how can we incorporate the love into our
Everything we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
One is that wherever we are discussing, we have to decide. I mean, one is telling people, and then secondly, I would say that I would rather request Jalawala Sahab that next time, wherever you have got program, you should have this last chunk for 2 minutes,
Sir.
where you will teach love. When Shahzad and Hajra, either you start or you just finish your program. Just decide in the start or in the end, I will preach this. Then you people are on social media and you've got thousands and thousands followers, fans. So perhaps daily, one thing, like this is how we can influence. Second, as Hajra asked one question, that how we can go for this political balance, like inside the universities, if we just stop these students joining political movements inside the university. What about other sides? Are we going to only allow political movements inside or these groups? We have got many, for example, segments for welfare. Then we should have like drama society where students are equally working. Why we banned them? Because there was a time when they would just come and they would simply ban each and everything, and whoever is not adhering to their
Hooligan,
ideologies,
right.
they'll be kicked out, they'll be like
Chalo ji niklo.
trashed and
Hooliganism
all that.
going on,
This
right.
was like that.
Right.
If we just go for a different kind of mindset. Third one is, as an individual, whatever my political echo chamber is, I have got to decide. For example, I am also with one of the parties, but when I see my friends from other party,
Yeah.
when I see derogatory terms on their uploads, I don't comment on that. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Take it.
That's
As
wonderful.
long as
And
it's softer,
and I think
I
that's
can-
the most important, and that's how change will be there for us to witness when each one of us kind of puts in the effort as well. So very quickly, solutions, your solutions.
Yeah, just individual
Only if you
choice.
think that, you know, we really need to move towards love.
Yes, like you said that you would ignore it, I would rather comment on it.
Okay.
I would rather like to say something which is insightful, give that other person a break.
A
You
new
know, we all
perspective.
say nasty things when we are in. So one thing is that, hey, the person is not bad, the person is in a bad state.
True.
Right? Also, one note is that a lot of hate comes from the fact that we don't love ourselves enough.
Okay.
And it's a projection on
true.
others.
That's
So one remedy is also more self-love. You know, be kinder. Number 3 is to always, like you said, sleep over it. Take a deep breath. Get somebody else's perspective on it. Somebody you don't like, something you don't like. There are people around you. They may have a very different opinion if you're willing to listen. And lastly, just look at it in the long run. If you keep doing it, if everybody does it, if you're also hated, what will we make?
Exactly. And that's
And that
wonderful.
should scare us all.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Umair, for being with us. Thank you very much, Sir Asif Rasool, for being with us. For everybody who's out there, I think it made absolute sense. And I think
Right.
it obviously, first of all, you really need to kind of have a resolve inside your own self and then move on towards that. What I'm going to say, I will follow Sir Asif Rasool's suggestion that, you know, towards the end of every program, why not have a message which is full of love? So the only thing I'm going to say today, and then later on I will have different messages, and that is start praying 5 times a day, ladies and gentlemen, do zikr, and you will see that your heart will soften. And then that's the kind of patience you need. You know, when we talk about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, he could have saved his son's life, but he didn't do that. He kept that prayer for the entire ummah he didn't even see. So imagine, that's the mashal-e-Raat, that's what we need to follow. And I've read it quite a lot of times on police fans, most of the time I'm going to say it in Urdu, and that is that हमें जुर्म करने वाले से नफरत नहीं है, हमें जुर्म से नफरत है. So please make sure that you keep that in mind. You just bear that in mind as well. Anything you want to say?
Right, that's a very beautiful message. And you know, I wanted to say one thing, that you know, hatred does not keep you going for a long time. Even if after you have your revenge, then you feel really empty, because you know the very unifying force that was driving you is gone now, right? But when
at times you're guilty of it as well. You're like, यार मैंने क्यों कहा था ऐसे, मुझे नहीं कहना चाहिए था.
You find a new person.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And when it comes to love, it keeps you going on and on. And this is what happened with the Nelson Mandela. He said that I'm not going to take the revenge on the white people who have kept him imprisoned for the 3 decades, you know, just for believing in his political conventions. And he said that I'm going to come out and we are going to heal. And that is why he lives on, and his truth and political reconciliation committees are, you know, a role model for the world to follow, you know, where the society wants to heal.
True.
And with that, we end our program, right? And
yes, for the political leaders out there, you know, why don't you just go pick up Muhammad Ali Jinnah's speeches, and you will see that he's never ever used the word of hate as well. So please make sure that you kind of focus on that. Increase your vocabulary. Rather than derogatory remarks, there can be a wiser choice of words too as well, which will certainly give away your message, but not as hatefully as you've been trying to do so as well, and that too hard. So please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
World This Morning.
On Twitter.
World This Morning.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
World This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at 10:05 tonight. Till the next time, look after yourselves, be full of love, and you will see love coming your way. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3, good morning.